I said, it's not going to happen to us. We're going to build the world's most powerful car, and we're going to use rocket technology, rocket propulsion. And so the new car's got 200,000 horsepower with 62,000 pound of thrust.
Today we're going to meet Rosco McGlashan. Now, Rosco is the current land speed record holder in Australia, and he's also now has a goal of breaking the sound barrier on land, on wheels, to reach 1,600 kilometres an hour. So today we're going to ask Rosco all about that, and I'm really happy to be able to chat to such a person. Your hosts for this video chat today are Neil Smith and Pete Ring. We're both Air Force fighter pilots who have broken the sound barrier many times. We introduce today a man who wants to break the sound barrier, but on wheels. So that's a much bigger challenge than Smithy and I have had breaking the sound barrier.
Rosco is the current Australian land speed record holder. He's the only guy in the world to have driven a Mirage III engine at a speed over 500 knots while he's still attached to the ground. Ringo and I have done it many times, but not while we're attached to the ground.
So welcome, Rosco.
Hey, great to be here with you guys, and I've got a lot of respect for both of you gentlemen, and yeah, brilliant careers and lovely guys with it, and been a great support to our project and what we're trying to achieve. So,
and we want to welcome Cheryl as well, Rosco's partner.
Thank you very much. And
she's the managing director, and Rosco's one of the department heads.
She manages the money, mate.
No, pleasure to be online with you both. So welcome to our workshop in Mullaloo in Perth.
I've got to say this, guys, we get over 400 visitors a year. They look at the car, they're fascinated with the car as soon as they see the car. But the next question is, Jesus, how'd you get away with this building this shed? And we're in suburban Perth, so yeah, it's a pretty unusual shed. But
yeah. It's amazing.
We have a little house and a big shed.
And Maverick kept saying, I feel the need for speed. And so we're asking Rosco at the moment, when did you first feel the need for speed?
Well, we put a book out that recently a lot of people have read and stuff like that. But yeah, bottom line was I was always fascinated as a really young bloke with speed, with cars and stuff like that. And anyway, my heroes were guys like Craig Breedlove, Bart Arfons. Yeah, back in that vintage where guys be clever enough to go into a junkyard, pick out parts to build a car, hubs off the back of the car, whatever, all the parts that come build a car. Somehow get their hands on a jet engine like we did. Thanks, Neil. and yeah, put a jet engine in the car, but to make it out of it just by looking at stuff and say that those hubs are going to work, that steering joint's going to work, that steering box will work, whatever. Build a car, do their own aerodynamics to go out and run the cars. And yeah, so as I say, a guy that recently passed was a very good friend of ours, Craig Breedlove, and he's the first guy to go 400, 500, 600 mile an hour. And he's actually on YouTube. He's set the world's fastest U-turn. He did a 675 mile an hour U-turn in his last car, but obviously that was unintentional. But yeah, so at age 12, I quit school at age 12, put my age up to 16, went working, and yeah, the goal was always to set a world land speed record. So what are we? 50 years later, 50 plus years later, I'm still on the job. So yeah.
So the ATAR that you used, the ex-Air Force Mirage engine, you had a jet engine before that, Rosco, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I've been drag racing, Neil, for most of my life, mate, and yeah, I've run jet powered drags for probably 15, 18 years, something like that, and been everywhere, been all over America, been all over Australia running them. And the beauty of this car was you could do a speedway show with it on Friday night, then go drag racing with it on the Saturday night. So it was a good money. That's how we earned our money back a few years back. And but yeah, you guys wouldn't be old enough, I don't think, to appreciate that. It had a J34 Westinghouse engine out of the Neptune. They were a JDO engine on the Neptunes. Anyway, so they put out something like 3,400 pound of thrust. So we made our own afterburners for them, done all sorts of trick things. And it's funny that you talk about that. We ended up making our own compressor blades. One of the problems with drag racing with a J34 engine, they're quite a heavy engine. They're 1,200 pound engine, and obviously to go really fast, you need a lot lighter engine. You need a lot of power, but you need a light car. So we kept looking at ways to make a J34 engine a lot lighter and a lot more powerful. So bottom line was, made our own compressor blades out of carbon fibre, and weren't going to do it with turbine blades, obviously. But anyway, it made these things up. Got the engine down to a little bit over 1,000 pounds. But we put out, getting out 6,000, let me get it right, a while ago, 6,500 pound thrust with the afterburner.
So you did get into some jet-powered engines, not jet-powered, rocket-powered engines for a while earlier on.
Well, I spent a lot of time in America. I actually built a rocket-powered motorcycle. And, well, let me go back a stage. First, I had a V8 motorcycle, a Chevy V8 motorcycle. But that was a real crowd pleaser, but yeah, pretty scary. That was hard to hang on to. And yeah, I got spat off it a few times, and I thought, I'm going to make something that's going to go a lot faster, but it's going to be a lot safer. So anyway, I started doing some studies. The thing in America was these hydrogen peroxide rockets were just coming online. So guys are getting their hands over there on 90% hydrogen peroxide and running rocket cars as a monopropellant. So just by using the hydrogen peroxide by itself and blasting that through a catalyst, through a silver screen in the engine, the hydrogen peroxide would decompose, make a heap of power, heap of thrust. And these things are they're still the quickest things that ever went down the drag strip. Top fuel drags, they run, well, a lady up there ran 411 mile an hour on a drag strip back in the 70s, the early 70s. And they're just so fast, these things, that anyway, the worst
that's over a quarter of a mile, isn't it?
Quarter mile, 13, 20 feet, yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
So anyway, Kitty O'Neill, she's a stunt woman. She recently passed too, which is a shame. But I was intrigued with these things. I thought, I've got to make myself a rocket motorcycle. So all I could do is go to the library, learn what I could about books and stuff like that. Then I made two rocket engines up to go on the back of this motorcycle. And I played around with it, got hold of some 70% hydrogen peroxide, played around with it, couldn't make this thing operate. So I kept annoying a guy in California, Fred Goski, the fearless Fred Goski, they called him. He ran some really fast rocket cars. Anyway, I ended up annoying Fred and said, listen, can I come across and bring one of my engines with me, and can you tell me why I can't make it operate? So he invited me over, and anyway, the rest was history. But Fred was the craziest guy I reckon I've ever met in my life. He got to his house in the valley in California, San Fernando Valley. Got to his house, and around his house there's 36 barrels of rocket fuel placed all around the house in suburban. It's a gated community. Had these barrels all around the house, and I looked at that and I said, they're empty barrels, are they, Fred? He said, no, they're all full. He said, I've just got a heap more down in storage. I haven't got any more room. But anyway, a million stories I could tell you about Fred. He's had his own elephant. He had his own bloody hook up with the mafia, making stuff for him. Amazing guy. Anyway, but he looked at the engine from the motorcycle. He looked at the engine. He said, mate, it looks like the first engine I ever made. Took a couple of measurements of it, looked at it, whatever, and looked inside it. He said, how many screens are in your catalyst? How many silver screens do you have in your catalyst? I said, one. He said, one? He said, no wonder it won't do anything. I said, well, how many do you run? How many screens? He said, 100.
Whoa.
Screens? This stuff was $15 a square inch here in Australia. 100. So anyway, I knew I could never afford to even put those engines together, or never be able to make that one work. But anyway, up on the roof, he had the go-kart. He had the rocket go-kart, which I set a world record in. I've been 253 mile an hour in a go-kart. The go-kart was strapped up in the roof of his shed, and I said, Fred, can we get that down and give that a run? He said, mate, as long as your ass points to the ground, that's not coming down off the roof. Day and a half later, we had it down on the ground, blowing the tyres up. We took it out and we ran it. But yeah, brilliant story. But the greatest thing I ever run, I just got to tell you, I sat in this thing, sat in this go-kart, so 2 parachutes behind my head, it's a normal go-kart, but the rocket engine right behind you, 2 parachute cans there, sat in this thing, and then all ahead is a nitrogen tank on one side, the propellant tank or the hydrogen peroxide tank on the other side, and a dome loader in between. So the more pressure you put from the nitrogen across onto the peroxide, is more power you made. So I had to buy the fuel off this guy. It's $350 a barrel. This is back in I don't know, early 72, something like that, back in the 70s, early 70s. And that was a lot of money, $350. Oh, God. Anyway, didn't know I was going to America to have a drive of this thing, so I had to borrow his fire suit. He's a pretty big dude. So I had his fire suit on, his helmet, his gloves, his boots, and everything's Teflon line to run with these things because it's hydrogen peroxide, just a vapor. It just kills you, it burns you. So anyway, ended up sitting in the cart ready to do a run, had the timing lights and everything set up, and said, forget about the Christmas tree, don't worry about running the lights. He said, just go when you're ready. But he said, I'll go down the half track. And he said, I'll put my thumb up. He said, when you see my thumb go up, purge it. Next time my thumb goes up, purge it again, and then purge it 3 or 4. Every time you see my thumb go up, purge it. So you jump on the throttle, fill the lines up with peroxide, blow them into the catalyst and cook the catalyst. So anyway, done that about 4 times. And then, but I should just go back a stage before he did that. I'm sitting in the cart and he said to me, I'm going to give you 10% power. I said, Fred, 10% power, mate. I've got to have something more than 10% power. But the fuel's cost me $350. Why would you run at 10% power? He pulled me halfway out the cart. He said, this thing will kill you deader and bloody whatever. Threw me back into the seat. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, anyway, I was pretty upset about it. 10% power. So then we purged it. So I purged it 4 times, and then first time I did it, just made a lot of noise. Acid floating around the air everywhere. Everything's burning me. Even we've got Teflon gloves on, my eyes are burning. Everything's burning, my fingernails. I thought, God, this is bad stuff. Hit it again. Made a little bit of a move forward. 3rd time I hit it, she jumped. 4th time I hit it, oh shit, she's really starting to happen. Anyway, in stage, before the lights, you put 2 thumbs up, I hit the gas, and all I saw was him at the corner of my eye. Went past, sailed past everyone. Holy Rome. Heart's jumping out of my chest, and then I had 2 parachutes out, went right down to the track, turned around, done a big turn, and turned around and looked back the way I come, and there's just a cloud of steam where I'd come from. I'm sitting there, my heart's jumping out of my chest. He jumped in the pickup truck, came driving down to us, jumped out and he said, you stupid little Aussie arsehole. He said, you put 2 parachutes out, you've hit the altitude switch on the front of the car, you've dumped the nitrogen, you've done this, you've done that. It's going to take us at least half an hour to turn this thing around again. I said, thank Christ for that.
People have told me I'm an adrenaline junkie, and they've probably told me the same thing, but I reckon you take the prize.
Well, he had to try all the dangerous things before he met me, and then so the dragsters and the land speed cars are my time.
So you spent your life trying to keep him alive.
Yes, keeping him safe.
Stabilising influence.
Yeah.
Well, when and how did you get your hands on a Mirage III jet engine?
Has the statute of limitations run out yet? Or
Classified information.
Yeah, no, I had, it's an amazing thing. What I wanted to do, building this car. So when I first started building a land speed car, I was in association with Ken Warby. Ken Warby was a guy who set the world water speed record at 317 mile an hour Blowering Dam in New South Wales. Ken was a real good friend of mine who had race cars, had funny cars, jet dragsters. I did a lot of touring with Ken. Anyway, everywhere I'd go with Ken, we'd be in America or whatever, we'd go to a diner, we'd sit down having dinner, and the first thing I'd do is pull a drawing out in my top pocket and say, Ken, I've had more ideas about what I'm going to do. I'm going to building a land speed car. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Anyway, possibly a year later, the paper's all torn and tattered and whatever. And Ken ended up saying to me, mate, he said, if you're going to build this goddamn car, he said, get on and build it. He said, I'm sick of hearing about it. So I thought, well, and I said to him, Ken, well, mate, I don't have any money whatsoever to build the car. And he said, well, when he built his boat. So I don't know if you know anything about Ken, but the RAAF were very, very kind to him, and guys down at Wagga with a lot of support. And anyway, a couple of senior RAAFies helped him out a lot. Anyway, yeah, I thought, well, how are we going to do this? And anyway, I ended up just buying 4 lengths of chromoly tube. So I had to design what I wanted to do, put the tubes down on the ground. That's all I could afford to do. So that it had 4 tubes, 1.5 inch tubes. And I thought, well, I've got to make this thing look like a car. So all I could do, get some wood, prop some wood up, tied it up, to put the frame rails where I wanted to do it. Got a plastic chair, cut the legs of it, put where the seat was going to go, and drew a picture on the ground where the engine was going to fit, and figured out, where everything was going to go, just around these 4 tubes. That's how it started. Now, one thing about it is what we knew we wanted to do. We didn't want to do a world record, so obviously we're after a world record. We didn't want to do a world record without using an Aussie engine. So
Yeah.
I think the thing we want to do is find a Commonwealth Aircraft Corporation engine that we could use and say, well, the engine built here in Australia, and it's an Australian engine. Whereas, the only other opportunity really was American engines, like a General Electric J79 or something like that. So anyway, but yeah, we somehow got our hands on some engine mounts, some Mirage engine mounts. So set the whole car up, knew where the centre of gravity, everything we wanted to do in the car, but put the engine mounts where we wanted to put them, allowed enough room for the engine to roll in the same as it does in the Mirage, so to roll in, and then all that. So made our own fuel tanks, made everything up for it, and yeah, got a lot of interest along the way. Still took us 10 years to build this car, but the hard thing for us was that we knew we wanted the Mirage engine, but we were told we'd never see one. I was told we'd never get one, and then I was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman by the name of Neil Smith, and things changed from there. But even there, that was, and I don't know if you've ever heard, even if Neil's ever heard the story, I'm sure he has, but yeah, 4 engines got sent to 4 core engines got sent to St Mary's for auction, and I got a call I think it was on a Friday night, that these engines had gone through the system as a late entry into the St Mary's auction. Got on the aeroplane, got to St Mary's, whole acres of aircraft parts, and everything I saw there I loved. The nuts and bolts, the 12-point bolts, the titanium stuff, everything there. I could have bought the whole lot and made money. I just loved everything there. Anyway, bottom line was these 4 engines were right at the end of the auction. It was a very hot day in St Mary's. Anyway, auctioneers getting pushed around on a big stand so we could see that everyone there. Guys pushing him around. He got round to the first of the engine, so they're in the 4 cocoons. The lids are open on the cocoons. So many guys are climbing all over these engines, and I thought, gee, I'm not going to have any chance of getting one of these engines. Didn't have any money to buy it anyway, and didn't know how we're going to do it. But I knew we had to have one of those engines, and bidding started on the first engine. Went up pretty quick. Guys have put their hands up, and from memory, it went to something like $4,500, very, very, very quickly. Anyway, the auctioneer up on his tower says, "Too late in the day. Not enough." He said the cocoons are worth more than that. He said the containers are in are worth more than that. He said to the guy pushing him, he said, "It's all over." So the guy started pushing him back towards his shed or wherever he's going to, and took a minute for the penny to drop with me, but I said, I yelled, "Hey, mate, hey, hang on." I said, "I got on an aeroplane at midnight last night to come across here and bid on one of these lots." And I knew I had the paperwork. Someone sent me down the paperwork to say which was the best engine, which was number 2 in the lot. Plus a couple of RAAFies come down to sort of as a bit of support, which is fantastic. Anyway, yeah, so the auctioneer turned around. He's a bit shocked, the same as everyone was. Everyone sort of stopped. The auctioneer got dragged back to the thing. He said, which lot are you interested in?" I said, that sucker there, the second one in line. He said, "What do you bid for?" I said, $500. Sold. Next one, bought the 4 of them for $500.
What two?
500 each. 500 each. Yeah, so $2,000, and
Which of the cars did you install the Mirage engine into?
well, the first thing, let me just go back a stage, building the car. So we had the engine mounts in the car, as I say, were all set up with proper pins and everything to engine mount pins to go in and everything. And then we rolled the engine in for the first time, made it up perfectly with the intake, and Anyway, we were looking at the back and we thought, gee, what's going on here? The clearance that we'd allowed from the top of the tailpipe to the top frame of the car was too tight. We thought, gee, what's going on here? And anyway, so measured it all up, and then we thought, gee, there's something strange here. We put the engine out again, put it level on the front, level on the back, and then the front one being level, and the other one, back one being like that. We thought, not exaggerated, of course, but yeah, on an angle. I think it was something like 4-degree angle or something like that. And anyway, thought, gee, something wrong here. And started looking at the engine. We thought something's bent. It must have been dropped and bent or something like that. Anyway, so we looked at it and we couldn't find anything wrong with it. It wasn't until we got to the junction section behind the last turbine wheel. The junction section there was about 1 metre long. It was 30 mil shorter on the top. I thought, what's going on here? So is that, it must be a feature. So then we rang up all the RAAF friends we had and we said, are these Mirage engines bent? And everyone said, no, what are you talking about? And one of our main crew guys that we picked up along the way, Tony Wolf, Tony was up in Darwin doing the Mirage up in Darwin. Really, really bright man, really clever guy. And I said, Wolfie, I said, are these engines bent? He said, what are you talking about? I said, well, if you've got an engine on the stand there, put a level on the front of it and then check the back. So rang me back half an hour. He said, holy shit. He said, these are bent. So anyway, then I had to find out why they were bent and what the sequence was, and then see if we could then actually modify the tailpipe, the junction section to make it straight, completely straight. So anyway, I ended up going to Canberra, and a couple of engineers over there said they'd never heard of it. They went back to France and all sorts of stuff happened, but I can't remember the exact report on how it happened, but it's something to do with the delta wing, and something to do with the delta wing. And they came in really fast to land. You guys might have a rough idea, and it's something to do with it. Yeah. Anyway, with the pitching moment on the aircraft. Yeah. So anyway, that was that, and but yeah, that was just a bit of a shock for us to see that. But we fixed that, and
so it went in Aussie Invader 2 and Aussie Invader 3. So
we end up taking the car out to Pierce Air Base, and had one of the guys, a lot of guys out there were interested in helping and stuff like that. And one of the guys was a really good Sparky, and so he wired the car up for us. And what we did, we took a lot of stuff off the engine that we didn't need. So we inverted oil tanks, gun dips, all sorts of stuff like that. That we can pull all that stuff off. But by doing that, that sort of generated quite a bit of confusion with the guy trying to wire it, because he looked at the book and said, well, that thing's not on there or whatever. And how do you want to do this? Anyway, bottom line was he wired it up, and then we went for a start for the first time. So we towed it out the start line, out the flight line on the morning, went for a start, spun her up, wouldn't fire up. Put it back in the hangar. Anyway, I think it was 4 days in a row that we took it out. On the fourth day, hit the key, and when she fired up, holy run, she was impressive. And so fired up, but obviously couldn't rent it, didn't put it afterburn or anything like that, obviously on the flight line. But then we started tying it down. We did a couple of sessions tying it down in the run-up area, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but back in those days, the RAAF was that good. The smoko came out, smoko time. We had the coffee, the cakes, the whole thing, the lunch came. It was great times.
I know, it was great times. I don't think there'd be quite any retributions at this stage. But I remember that Air Force, and so does Smithy.
Yeah. And it was a great team. It was a good support, and we did adventure training when we took the whole team across to the lake with us when we did the record. So, we had the logo on the car, the RAAF logo, and gave them, sort of all the support, and the RAAF gave us all the support. So, it was wonderful.
So when you opened the taps the first time on, was it Aussie Invader 2? Forgive me of my ignorance, but on 2.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
When you opened the taps for the first time, just tell me what that experience was like.
Well, that was quite amazing. So bottom line is it's a hell of an effort, Ringo, to get to where we had to go on Lake Erdner. It's a 2,200 kilometre drive, and the last probably 150 kilometres up through goat track to get onto it. So bottom line was, I'm driving the truck, the race car's on the back, and you built the car to go really, really fast. We wanted to go 800 mile an hour in that car. anyway, sitting, you can see the car sitting on the trailers getting bounced around. I thought, it's never designed to do that. And I just prayed that nothing got broken on it. Bottom line, we got to the lake, surveyors had been there, they set a track up for us. We put some fuel in, kicked the tyres, we kicked the wheels, no tyres, we kicked the wheels, checked it all out and said, right, we're ready to give it a blast. So the crew said to me, well, listen, just take it up 100 kilometres an hour, take it up to 100 kilometres an hour and just see how it feels. So anyway, I filled it up. I got in the car, rolled it out, and I kicked it in the afterburner, and the thing just felt so good. So I ended up going 250 kilometres an hour off the trailer, which made a no-no. But the bottom line is I thought, well, obviously I'd then been butt kicked in any normal situation, and obviously the crew weren't impressed with me doing it. But the bottom line is I knew I had to get out there, and I didn't want to start down there when I could start up here, if you know what I mean. We had no budget to do what we're doing. We couldn't waste fuel. We couldn't waste time. Everyone was a volunteer, come across with book their vacation to come across. And we just had to achieve as much as we could in a short space of time. So anyway, I went 450 kilometres an hour off the trailer, and everyone's like, shit, I've got to go beat 647 with the Donald Campbell record. We'll do it this week. So unbeknown to me, people get on the phone, they ring up the sponsors, Ampol, Channel 7, the bosses of Channel 7, people we just didn't need we couldn't afford them, and we didn't need the pressure. We didn't need that added pressure.
Yeah.
So anyway, we needed to get the car at the record speed before we told anyone. Anyway, it didn't happen. So all of a sudden, the sponsors and everything coming there and just put us under enormous pressure. So and then
included our beloved Neil.
Well, when Neil came in, I think when we done the record, I think it was the next trip.
They were on the record.
Yeah, that was the next trip Neil came in. So we went to Lake Edna 3 times. So we were lucky enough that Neil joined us for the record run. I think we'd done one run one way. I think we went 815 or something.
815
kilometres one way. One way. Then we had to back it up. We got to go 2 ways to set a record.
Yeah.
Within an hour. So lucky Neil come across to join us, and a couple of boys raced down to pick him up from the airstrip, which is about, I don't know, 20, 30 kilometres away. Came back, and we're privileged to have him see the car set the record. So
can I just ask how it felt at 8:15? Felt, not anything else, but how did you feel?
Well, the sensational bit. So by driving dragsters all the time, jet dragsters all my life, or rocket powered dragsters, the acceleration wasn't that mammoth. You're not pulling massive gear or anything, but the sensation being out in the Salt Lake, which people can't appreciate, is it's the flattest surface in the world. So when you're driving down a black line with a marker barrel every kilometre, I can see 4 kilometres. If I'm sitting in the car stationary, I can see 4 barrels on the top of the 5th one on the horizon.
Yeah.
What actually happens when you light the wick and you're kicking into burner, you know you're going very fast, but the good thing is there's no trees or cars or anything around you. If you did down the road, you'd be terrified. But out in the Salt, really, all you can see is the marker barrels start to flash past. But the thing is, you're driving over the curvature earth, so you can't see. You can only see 4 kilometres in front of you. So my mindset doing that is, gee, I hope no one's, even though we've got spotters, lots of spotters all the way down the track, but my mindset, a kangaroo or something jumps out on the track, someone drives in out of the bush onto the track. It was a very sort of unnervy feeling. So when I first started driving the car, I lifted my butt out of the seat, and the helmet was getting pressed up right against the top of the roll cage. And when I get out of the car after the night, I'd think, God, how do I hurt my neck? And it wasn't until we looked at the onboard vision, I mean, the faster we go, I lifted my butt up and hurt my neck, but I was doing it subconsciously. And but that's the thing. You see the curvature that go like that, and you see it go, it's absolutely amazing. So,
So how long was the whole track that you had time to accelerate and enough kilometres to accelerate and enough kilometres to decelerate?
22 kilometres.
22.
22 kilometres,
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were up to speed with it? How many?
Up to speed in
3 to 4 kilometres.
Yeah, no, a bit more than that. Yeah, probably about 5.5 kilometres.
And it felt good. The whole car felt good.
It didn't. It didn't. The bottom line was it started. It wasn't until we started getting up around the around 650 kilometres that she'd start skating. And
Yeah.
the problem was no one had ever set a land speed record on solid wheels and salt.
Yeah.
And Palms before us, Richard Noble had tried back in '83 with solid wheels on salt at Bonneville. And bottom line was, the timekeepers told him to take the car home. You can't run here again until you make the car run straight. So what we done, we'd made solid wheels, but we put a V profile on them, and it's a bit like an ice skate. So with an ice skate, you're cutting into the ice, if you like, would give you the traction. It's the exact same principle with this wheel. So the four wheels had a V profile on them, and they'd put 4 lines into the salt when it ran. But with the salt, you get diamond patches in there. The wheels will just get across them. And then the thing is, if any of the 4 wheels broke traction, you're fighting 4 gyros. So the car will start doing this, and every time you try and compensate for it, the opposite would happen. One wheel would speed up, the other one would slow down. And anyway, we went sideways in the car. Well, nearly went completely sideways twice in the car, where the guys on the hard ground would see the car completely looking at them. We're meant to be going that way, and I'm going that way straight at them.
Wow.
But had the chutes out and straightened the car up and stuff. And but yeah, it was pretty scary. But the bottom line was, Ringo, we end up crashing that car. It's a hard thing to appreciate, but you very, very rarely get the right day that you can run a car, get the weather right, no wind right. Very rarely happens. So when you go to set a record, say within 3 weeks, as I say, everyone's on vacation, they come across, they're doing their best to make it happen. The weather doesn't happen, or we've got water on the track. It's a bummer. Anyway, the last trip, we thought, well, we've got to go 800. We want to go 800 mile an hour in this car, 1,100 kilometres an hour. And the last time we're there, we got across there. Hadn't rained in 22 years this time of year. We got to the lake. There's 2 inches of water on it. Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
But things that happened there, the lake was 150 kilometres long, so with the wind change, you'll have a pool of water down the south end, for example. Everyone's devastated. We thought, gee, what can we do? Come out the next morning, the lake's dry. How's that happened? The winds picked the water up and parked at 150 kilometres. Oh, gee, we got a chance to run, but the salt was still bad. Ran the car again, ran really fast. We got over over 1,000 kilometres an hour, didn't we? Over 1,026 kilometres an hour. But the car broke through the soft salt, and the back track of the car, the back wheels of the car were wider than the front track. So front wheels punched a hole. The 65% of the vehicle weight's on the front, punched a hole through into the salt. One of the back wheels dropped into that track, and the car was just tramlining. So the car was just running where it wanted to. So obviously it pulled the power off. Like I said, see the timing traps probably a mile in front of me. Couldn't steer the car out of. The engine's off. Punched the chute out. But the next thing, I hit the timing gear, destroyed the car, destroyed the engine, and whatever. So
What does that do to you emotionally, and to Cheryl too?
Well, it was devastation to think that we'd spent all the money to get there and we had no money to repair the car or to do it again. So that was the first thing he said. It's all over with, and we knew that if the car was destroyed, that was the end. And so, but he'd held the Aussie record. So to me, he already held the Aussie record. So he didn't need to go any faster. He'd already achieved what we were aiming to achieve. Why do you keep going?
But as I say, the record then the world record then was 1,019 kilometres an hour, and we'd gone 1,026. We'd gone faster than the world record, but we had to back it up. We had to do a 2-way run, which we couldn't achieve. So anyhow, we had our tail between our legs. We were pretty down in the mouth for a while. Took the car back to Perth, and some of the pictures of the engine, just what it's done to the engine was just absolutely amazing. The timing gear went through the engine. I've got a steel marker up here on the wall, the steel timing marker that we hit. That flicked. We've got pretty good vision of that, but that flicked over the top of the car. But the main timing gear went down the intake, and the whole compressor was completely stuffed. But we got home. The chassis was stuffed on the car, and we sat down for a while, and we thought, we've got spare engines. We'll put a spare engine together. The afterburner and everything back into that Mirage engine was still fine. So we thought we'll make another engine up and make another car, make another chassis, build a slicker and faster car. And that probably took us another, I can't even think, probably another 5-6 years. But we went back again, but in the meantime, it was 97, and those rotten palms had gone out. Had gone out and gone 763 mile an hour, or 1,227 kilometres an hour, and gone supersonic. Gone swimming. So supersonic. They had a twin-engined spay engine car, that huge, monstrous car, but with two big jet engines, and so we're on the salt at the same time. We started to run, and we got the news these guys have gone supersonic. We thought, Aussie INVADER 3, as we called it, brand new car, the prettiest land speed car ever built, according to the Yanks. Aussie flag over the front of it. It's a really, really pretty car. And anyway, the car was redundant. So all we could do then was, well, hang on to it, which we did, and had it as a showpiece here in the shed, but knew that there's no one in the world that could beat 763 mile an hour on it, or 1,226 kilometres. So sat down salt for a couple of years, and then I thought we're going to build something that's going to go really, really fast. No one's ever going to, no one's ever going to pip us at the post again. And in saying that, the history of the land speed record has always been the same, where someone, going back years ago, someone's built a car, for example, it goes 300 mile an hour. So they spent all their money, all their time building a car that goes 300 mile an hour. Before they get to run it, someone built a car that goes 350 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Made that car redundant. It's happened all the way through the history of the land speed record, or someone might have set a world record, but then not had enough power to bloody take the next record. It's overtaken them. So anyway, I said, this is not going to happen to us. We're going to build the world's most powerful car, and we're going to use rocket technology, rocket propulsion. And so the new car's got 200,000 horsepower with 62,000 pound of thrust. The biggest issue, the thing that is the big showstopper with any car going super fast is the wheels. The wheels, the integrity of the wheels. So the wheels in our car, we built the world's first 1,000 mile an hour wheels, and we're in a what's the word, competition with the POMs to build the world's first 1,000 mile an hour wheels. So we had all our FEA done, all our design stuff done by NASA's, one of the NASA's top FEA guys, had them designed, couldn't afford to buy the material to do them, whatever. But bottom line was we got them built. But the bottom line is they weigh 140 kilo each. They generate 50,000 G at the periphery of the wheel. The wheel bearings.
How much?
50,000 G at the periphery of the wheel. At 10,000 RPM, they're generating 50,000 G.
Wow.
So they're ready to hand grenade. So if you could make a wheel that could turn faster and hang together, that you'd be a world beater. No one's got the 1,000 mile an hour, and obviously I don't know. I've got to live on enough to prove that we can do it. I work on the project every day, every night of the week. But the bottom line is, I've still got the drive, I've still got the enthusiasm to make this thing happen. But in all honesty, I don't know if I'm over 38 now. It's hard to it's hard to believe, isn't it? Anyway, but we're doing our best. But anyway, but with the wheels, so the wheels are the biggest showstopper with any car going fast. And I got these. One of the big things with the wheels was these bearings were made by SKF, and anyway, these were made specially for this car.
Can you hold them up a little bit? Wow.
So they're a quad bearing. So there's 4 of those suckers that go on each wheel, and but a part number there somewhere. They're very special. So that's one of 4, but wheel bearings that would turn in a wheel that's at a standstill and then spin up to 10,000 RPM within 20 seconds didn't exist. So
how do you keep with is there any grease in them? And if there's grease in them, if it gets that hot, what happens to the grease every time you get up around the high speeds?
I run an oil bucket.
They run an oil bath.
An oil bath, yeah.
So that means that oil bath will be getting pretty hot and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Good thing with the aluminum, but yeah, the heat's going to dissipate. A lot of people say, well, how hot's the wheel going to get? Well, obviously it's going to dissipate really well for the wheels, but yeah, but anyway, so that's one thing making the wheels, but then there wasn't a bearing in the world that would withstand that 50,000 G and going from standstill to 10,000 plus RPM within 20 seconds. And Calm Aluminium was said he then sponsored the material for the wheels, which was absolutely a godsend. So everything was designed for them. We got the billets. So really, there are 7075 aluminum billet, aerospace grade billets. Got the machine here. Our friends at Kenton Engineering here in Perth put them up, machined them up, fitted the bearings to them, and rest is history. So we did a bit of spin test. They've been spun tested to let me get it right, been a while, 7,500 is the fastest we could turn them here without making a special jig up to turn them to 10,000. But anyway, so starting at the front, you've got a front wheel pack with the two wheels together on a common axle.
Yeah.
Qualifies a car, it's got to have 4 wheels. So yeah, the two are on a common axle at the front. As mentioned, they weigh 140 kilo each, and they're designed to turn to 10,000 plus RPM. The steering system on the car has been made by us. It's all been designed by us. It's on a cradle. We're yet to prove that it's going to work. We've had some of the best steering experts in the country and in America look at this, go through all the mathematics of it. It's because it's such a complex system, which I've got anyway, very complex. So,
can I just ask a question there? On the steering system, it's probably hydraulic, but is the amount of steering wheel you put in, is that only make fine adjustments, or have you got a chance to make a big adjustment?
No, we've only got 3 degrees either way.
Yeah.
3 degrees either way.
Okay, got it.
Same thing again with the gyroscopic force. If it turned any more than that, it pitch roll the car over.
Got it. Yeah.
A massive amount of gyroscopic force on those wheels. So all we can do is turn them 3 degrees either way, which is quite large. In saying that, a lot of people say to us, well, how are you going to turn the car around in short distance to do your other run? Obviously, there's a jinker that you go straight underneath the car, hooks up to another vehicle, we just tow it around and put it exactly where we want it. So turning.
Okay, got it. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And this deal here, so this is what we call the OPM, the overall propellant module. So this system here is something we've developed here, and it's really unique. We had to get Calm Aluminium to produce these tubes for us. So there's 7 tubes there. There's two on the top, 2 on the bottom, and 3 in the guts. The 3 in the guts are the fuel ones, which is for fuel alcohol, and they're 10-inch in diameter. And then the 4 oxidizer ones are wide fuming nitric acid, and they are 12 inches in diameter. So we designed pistons that run in them with special seals that work with acid. And how this system works is there's a pressure bank in the back of the car, nitrogen pressure storage system in the back, 4,000 psi of nitrogen in those tanks that runs through 2 regulators. We've got 2 regulators down here. And what we do is when I schedule the propellant module to go into pressure mode, I throw a couple of switches inside the dash. We've got a lovely Motium dash in there that everything on the dash, it's a bit like you guys with your flight control or a Learjet or a Citation, something like that, where you've got to go through a pre-run deal with everything's got to be ticked off and all the safety thing. There's 24 items that we've got to tick off on the module before we do it. But once we're ready to go, I flick the switches, the pressure comes through, goes onto those pistons. So the pistons are moving forward, because what we want to achieve is we want to move that whole mass as 2.5 ton of propellant in that module. So 2.5 ton of that. So what's going to happen? That car's going to get 2.5 ton lighter in 22 seconds. So pushing the propellant forward, a lot of people say, well, why would you push it forward? You're pushing against gravity. Well, by pushing forward against gravity, all we're losing is 39 psi. But what's happening is the car's maintaining its centre of gravity and centre of area. So that's even though it's getting 2.5 ton lighter, it's still very, very stable. So it's keeping stable. If we push the propellant the other way, obviously the front will get very light. And so that's the whole idea of that. So what happens then, everything's under pressure. So I've got 2 throttles in the car. So what I do, I put the left-hand one down, and then when I'm ready to go, and then I jump on the right-hand one, I've got to have 2 throttle pedals down. It's the 2 mixers get forced into the engine, forced back here into the engine. This thing's got a ICBM injector, an Atlas injector in it, and it's an impinging injector. So when these two mixers go into the engine, they go through the injector, and then the first time they see each other, it's through this impinging injector that makes it go hypergolic. So it's a hypergolic chemical reaction that as soon as these two mix, we've got full power in 5 milliseconds. So it's
Wow.
Rosco, that's a spontaneous combustion between those 2 elements when they hit each other.
Yeah.
Ignite. Yeah.
So hypergolic, they call that. It's it's a chemical ignition. They just light up as soon as they see each other, and obviously they're 2 very bad mixers. So fueling the car and stuff like that's a pretty scary thing. You've got to have the oxidizer truck there, and once the car's oxidized, so when we fill it up, we've got filling points on the car. Once we fill the oxidizer up, obviously what happens is it fills up from there. The pistons get forced all the way back to here. Then the oxidizer truck leaves, and then the fuel truck comes in. But we don't have the 2 of them together there. Then the same thing, we fill the fuel up, and then so what else we've got in the car? So that's the nitrogen bank. As I say, there's 4 tanks. There's 3 coupled together there, and there's a piggyback tank on the back of that over the nitrogen. 4,000 psi on that. Roll cage, best roll cage you've ever seen. Oh, and the other thing I should mention, no one's ever done this before. The car is made out of a Bezoy plate. So a big slab of plate, a 9.5mm plate, Bezoy, had it rolled, had the plate rolled, so into a pipe, if you like, rolled into a pipe, professionally butt welded, X-rayed, the whole deal. So that was a 12-metre long pipe. And as I say, never been done before, but what we looked at, because the car's got to be so long, so that, and a lot of people say, well, why is the car so long? Well, it's so long because it's got to have that amount of propellant in it to make that engine reach its 62,000 pound of thrust. So if the car was that long, we could it wouldn't be able to go 1,000 mile an hour. It'd probably get to whatever, you'd run out of propellant. So it's got to be that long to carry that amount of propellant. Very special roll cage. Obviously, with the pipe, what we had to do is scallop that out to make a roll cage inside it. And obviously, the roll cage is made out of some very heavy-duty stuff that and some beams that run through to stop lozenging. We don't want to, obviously, if you have a pipe and cut the top out of it, obviously it wants to lozenge or bend. So it's very, very stiff. That's what you want to have, car very, very stiff. The engine's known as a B3. It's an engine we got out of America. It's made by a company called HMX for NASA. It's a sustainer engine for one of the NASA projects. We got our hands on a couple of these engines. Don't ask me how. Yeah. Anyway, but got hold of a couple of these engines. They're a quite amazing engine. They're a carbon wound, filament wound carbon fibre engine, and they're burned for 100. They're only rated for 180 seconds, so they only run for 180 seconds. But the thing about it is, and that's a full burn for 180 seconds, and then they throw the engine away. But we're never ever going to do that. So as I say, our normal one for us is even on test run will only be for the duration of the propellant, probably 20 seconds, maybe 25 seconds, depending on how we test it. So the engine will last us for a long time. It's got a silica phenolic throat inside the throat of the engine. But the main erosion that happens inside a rocket is through the throat. Obviously, that's where all the action happens. So it's very, very tough throat in there. As I say, the injector in the engine is a ICBM out of an Atlas. Homeland Security rang me up about this. Can I tell you this story? I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you. I'm in the office one day, the phone rings, American accent. Guy says to me, Rosco, he said, can I ask you a bit about some of the rocket stuff you've got in your workshop? And I said, well, who am I talking to? And he gave me his name. And he said, I'm the boss of ITAR in Homeland Security. And I said, okay, Kevin. I said, what do you need to know? And he said, well, can you tell me a lot of stuff you've got, what you've got, and where you got it from? I said, I'm happy to answer anything you want to know, but I said, let's make this reciprocal. Let's have it both ways, where I can ask you some questions. And he said, okay, well, that's fine. So I said, Kevin, let me get the ball rolling. Have you had a complaint from someone in America about what we're doing with these rockets? He said, yes, we have. I said, can you tell me, are they a race team in America? He said, yes, they are. I said, are they land speed races or potential land speed races? He said, yes, they are. I said, are they based in Apple Valley in California? He said, yes, they are. I said, mate, what do you want to know? So he said, how in God's name did you get your hands on ICBM injector? And anyway, I said, I bought it. I bought it in America and in a rocket shop. And he said, what's a rocket shop? I said, it's known as Norton Sales Incorporated. They're in Burbank in California. I heard him on the computer, and next he says, holy shit. Homeland Security, he didn't even know they were selling rockets. Anyway, so that was it. So we're great mates now. So anyway. Yeah, so where were we? Let me go back to
the air doors.
Hey?
The air doors.
Yeah, the air brakes on there. What if I put
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just put those air brakes on if you can see them.
Where are the canards?
The canards.
Oh, canards are here. Yeah.
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 They're pretty instrumental, aren't they?
If you look at the website, there's a 58, I think there's 58-page thesis on how they work.
Wow.
And Paul Martin, the guy's name, is very, very clever man, and he's designed the whole thing. And how they work is they couple together, a bit like the new Sukhoi. You see the Sukhoi aircraft when they're sitting on the runway. You see the canards in the front, they're hanging down like that. And soon they get the airspeed up. These they come
Yeah.
get into the airstream and trim the nose of the aircraft all the way through. Well, it's exactly the same principle with these. So
Yeah.
as soon as the car starts rolling, they're not computerized or anything like that. They've just got a weight on them, and they get into the airstream. And obviously, if the car goes down, they pull it up, and the car goes up. They're designed to pull it down.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah. So, and obviously, we've got load cells in the front of the car. We've got load cells in the front and back of the car. We know how much weight's on the front wheels, how much is on the back, and yeah. But hopefully, these are the bee's knees to keep the nose, get the car on the ground.
Just showing.
So just come on.
I just say, just to clarify for the viewers, Roscoe, that the world speed record car, you're not allowed to have an aerodynamic surface that's controlled by the driver, are you?
That's right. Yeah, or computerized. It's got to be.
It's got to be fixed.
Oh,
In other words,
Gotta be automatic,
uncontrolled.
yeah.
Yeah. Not automatic.
yeah.
I mean, it can't be actuated.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
yeah.
It's got to do it itself.
Yeah.
When you approach the speed of sound, I know what it was like in Sabres and Mirages and other airplanes. Like all sorts of weird effects happen at the speed of sound.
Yep.
What are you anticipating in the car once you hit that critical Mach number where you're verging on the pressure wave moving backwards down the car? What are you anticipating at the speed of sound on your car?
Well, obviously, Ringo, the big issue has always been, as you guys know, with aircraft and anything trying to go supersonic. In the air is one thing, on the ground's a whole new ballgame, because obviously the shock wave is trying to dissipate off the underside of the car.
Yeah.
So one of the big things we've done with this car is it's got a V underbelly. So as the shock wave starts moving down the car, we expect to see the shock wave come off the side of the car out like that, and not so much on the ground. When the British car, as known as thrust SSC, when that ran supersonic, it had a huge flat bottom on it and was putting divots and putting a drop into the player that deep. And the dust storm that came off the car went 150 feet either side of the car and 150 foot off the top of it, and tried to go 150 foot underneath it, but just destroyed the player. So as I say, what we're expecting to see is a plume will go out like that out of both sides and off the top of the car, but the underside will be very clean. Obviously, the transonic region is a scary bit. Obviously, in
Yeah.
back in the Chuck Yeager days was obviously the big thing with all of us, got Crossman, all the guys that ran were trying to go supersonic and stuff like that. The transonic region was the big deal. But obviously I've always believed that anything like that, you look at the aircraft back in the days, in the Chuck Yeager days when they're trying to go supersonic, that plane only had the thrust to make it go
Yeah.
super. So it's creeping up. It's going through the transonic region, but it's spending a lot of time getting there. Well, a lot of time. I'm talking seconds, but I mean it's taking possibly 20. You're probably in the transonic regions like Chuck Yeager, probably for 20, 25 seconds. So the bottom line is what we're talking about. We're not going to be there because we're punching through the air that fast that we're going through the transonic region. We're only going to be in it for seconds.
Yeah.
Seconds. We'll be straight through it and whatever. And to me, that the aero on the car doesn't have a chance to do any bad stuff. We hope. Well, the other thing is once the vehicle goes supersonic or aircraft goes supersonic, this is something we'd love to prove with the car is that the British guys, Andy Green, very good friend of ours, first guy to drive supersonic in a car, as I say, but he went 1.02 Mach. So just cracked the sound barrier. The thing we've always believed is once you go supersonic, we can go faster. We can go a lot faster.
Yeah.
So, but we can go through. We want to go 1.3 Mach. So we want to 1,000 miles an hour.
From what I understand from my history about Smithy, it's the transonic reason that's the problem.
The Roma, yeah. So as I say, our answer to that is we want to get through it as quick as we can, and and hope we're right. But in saying that, guys, they talk about 1,000 mile an hour car. People say, "Oh, goddamn, that's amazing." But the thing is, you get in the car and you sneak up on it. You no one in the world just sit your bum in the car and go, "Gee, I'm going to go 1,000 mile an hour." You get there. The first time I run this car, all I'm looking at on the computer screen here, once the pre-run's done, every pre-flight, as you guys is all checked out. The clock comes up on there. Clock tell me in seconds, and then mile per hour. And all I want to do is run the car initially for 6 seconds. In 6 seconds, I light the wick for 6 seconds, and in 6 seconds, this car should be running. Got all the data there, and we can't record. It's been a hard day. This car should be running over. I've got to talk mile an hour again. Should be running over 500 mile an hour. All the way through. Then we run the car for 6 seconds, then 8 seconds, then 10 seconds, and sneak up on it. So that's plus you get a bit of driving time in the car. As I say, things like the steering have never been tested before, and the only way we can test the steering initially is to take the car out, put it on the player, push the car with a powerful truck, pickup, 100 mile an hour, and just me be able to sit in the car and just steer it and just make sure it's doing it. Because as I say, even the steering's never been improved on it. So
you're on a suck at the sea.
You really are in Chuck Yeager territory here, aren't you? Because you really you can't simulate this thing in a wind tunnel. That's the problem for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Even people talk about wind tunnels and that too, Neil, and obviously with aircraft and wind tunnel. And I've seen some of the best wind tunnels the best wind tunnels in the world. Believe it or not, they're in Moscow, but so they're in Russia. And anyway, the Yanks didn't even know about these wind tunnels. But what I'm getting at with aircraft is you put the aircraft in a wind tunnel, and obviously you're getting the airflow all the way around the vehicle. But with a car, you're not doing that, not achieving the same. So obviously you can't get simulated airflow all the way around the fuselage of the car. So CFD has been the thing to do, we believe.
You're both at the frontier, which is Smithy just said. I got a lot of admiration for people who are still pushing frontiers. So kids look at stuff like this, and it's sort of like, when I was a kid anyway, it sort of like fired my imagination. It fired me up to have different thoughts about life. And I think you got to consider how much good you're doing Australia and kids and the worldwide in helping people fire up their imagination in what you're doing right now. I think that's amazing. Just before you go, if you've enjoyed this video, then you'll certainly enjoy Rosco's book. It's a bottler. You can see where to get it in the description to this video. Additionally, Roscoe's story has been put in copies of Wings magazine. Again, details in the description. Please remember, we are a volunteer organisation supporting veterans, and it would be helpful for our cause if you subscribe to our magazine. Wings, just to remind you, Wings magazine, again in the description. Thank you.